You ever click add to cart on a fish finder that looks amazing in the pictures, only to find it barely scratches the surface when you actually get out on the water? I've seen that happen so many times. The screen is crisp in the showroom, the promises of instant sonar are everywhere, and then you're staring at a grainy mess while the fish are clearly not impressed. That hesitation, that what if I'm paying for hype feeling is why I'm doing this deep dive. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the situation this unit was built for. The Lowrance Elite FS9 is a 9-inch multi-touch display that comes preloaded with CMAP contour plus charts and a 3-in-1 Nosecone that claims to give you side scan, down scan, and chirp all from one piece of hardware. If you're the kind of angler who spends a good chunk of the weekend on a mid-size boat, juggling a separate chart plotter, a traditional down-looking sonar, and a sidescan unit that you have to mount somewhere else, this all-in-one approach can feel like a massive time saver. It's also the kind of setup that appeals to someone who isn't a tech geek but still wants that pro-level look on the dash without having to learn 3 different systems. Who should buy it? The sweet spot is serious hobbyists who already have a decent transducer or are comfortable buying one separately, and who value the convenience of a single screen that can toggle between mapping, chirp, and sidescan modes. If you already own a Lowrance boat system, the full networking capability means the Elite FS will talk to your existing modules without a headache. If you fish in lakes and rivers where depth changes quickly, the 3-in-1 Nosecone can be a game changer because you get a 360-degree view of what's under and around the boat without having to reposition a single beam unit. Who should skip it? If you're on a tight budget and plan to stick with basic depth readings, you'll likely find the price a stretch for features you won't fully exploit. Also, if you're a small boat owner with limited mounting space, the Nosecone can be a bit bulky. Fitting it on a compact bow sometimes requires a bit of creative rigging that not everyone is happy to do. And finally, if you prefer a separate, dedicated chart plotter with a larger screen for navigation, you might feel cramped on a 9-inch display, even though the touch interface is responsive. Now, let's walk through a typical day on the water with this unit. I set it up on a 16-foot base boat that already has a VHF, a depth sounder, and a basic GPS. The installation was genuinely straightforward. The Nosecone slides onto the transducer mount without any special tools, and the wiring harness plugs right into the display's rear. Within 15 minutes I was on the dock, the system booted, and the CMAP charts were already rendering the lake's contours. That instant mapping is a real benefit if you're unfamiliar with a water body. You can see drop-offs and weed beds before you even drop a line. When I switched to chirp mode, the target separation was noticeable. The display broke down fish arches into individual echoes, which made it easier to differentiate a school of shad from a single bass. The active target ready overlay highlighted the strongest returns in real time, so I could spot a promising structure and head straight for it without scrolling through menus. In a test on a shallow, weed-choked lake, the downscan portion of the Nosecone cut through the vegetation like a hot knife through butter, revealing the bottom contour and a few hidden crappies that would have been invisible with a standard single-beam sonar. The sidescan capability, accessed by rotating the Nosecone, gave a 360-degree sweep that was surprisingly clear for a unit this size. When I turned the boat around a submerged dock, the sidescan image showed the pilings and a small shoal of catfish sheltering behind them. That kind of detail is usually reserved for larger, more expensive sidescan rigs, so getting it on a 9-inch screen felt like a win. But there are trade-offs you need to consider. The first is the lack of an included transducer. The Elite FS ships without a transducer because Lowrance expects you to pair it with a model that matches your boat's mounting options. If you don't already have a compatible transducer, you'll need to buy one separately, which adds to the total cost. The Nosecone is versatile, but it's also heavier than a standard down-looking unit, which can affect your boat's trim if you're on a smaller hull. I noticed a subtle nose-up attitude on a lightweight skiff, which required a minor adjustment to the trim tabs. Another practical point, the 9-inch screen, while crisp, can feel cramped when you try to view both a detailed chart and live sonar data side by side. The interface does let you toggle layers, but you end up flipping back and forth more often than you might with a larger display. If you're used to having a dedicated navigation screen, you'll have to adapt.